and I could, because we were so different, it could get a little bit combative. Do we agree on everything? Absolutely not. We would be married if we still agreed on everything.
Are you aware that Ivana and Marla Maples were there before Melania Trump? Donald Trump's marriage to former beauty queen Marla Maples terminated for reasons you'll never imagine. Actually, the circumstances of Trump's marriage to Marla remain stunning to this day every time we think about Marla because of how contentious and interesting it was. We heard some unbelievable rumors when they split up. After 20 years, Marla finally proved what many of us had thought all along. However, what transpired between them in reality? Their marriage barely lasted 6 years. Why was that? To discover out, continue watching. You might be surprised to hear that Trump started seeing Marla Maples when he was still married to Ivana Trump, his first wife. The very contentious romance between Trump and Marla, an actress, model, and TV personality from Georgia, started in the late 1980s. Not only was Trump's marital status a factor, but the fact that the couple's relationship was open and widely reported added fuel to the fire. Why was it done so publicly if it was so scandalous? They were together for more than 4 years, going through a breakup and a reconciliation before Trump finally divorced Ivana in 1990. The New York Post ran a surprising headline on February 16, 1990, while Trump was still married to Ivana. Marla supposedly told her friends that her sexual experiences with Trump were the happiest of her life, and that was the storyline presented in the headline. This, of course, sent shockwaves through the media, and for weeks it dominated the top pages of New York City tabloids. This, despite the fact that other historic events, like the release of Nelson Mandela from jail and the bankruptcy of Drexel Burnham Lambert, were also taking place. Even while that was shocking, it wasn't the worst. The first meeting between Ivana and Marla Maples in December 1989 was also shocking. Apparently, Trump had covertly planned for his lover Marla to be in Aspen, Colorado, when he and his family were on a skiing vacation. So that's how Marla and Ivana ended up meeting. This young blonde woman approached me out of the blue and said, "I'm Marla, and I love your husband." Ivana recounts the fateful day in Aspen in her book Raising Trump. "Is that so?" "Depart," I said. "My spouse is incredible." It wasn't very ladylike, but I couldn't believe it. Just try to put yourself in Ivana's shoes for a second and try to comprehend how she must have felt in that humiliating scenario. Meeting Marla solidified her belief that her marriage to Trump was terminated. True to her word, Trump formally filed for a divorce from Ivana in February 1990, around 2 months following that meeting. It would be easy to assume that Trump and Marla would have a happy ever after when Ivana left. That, however, was not the case. Despite being married soon after, they ultimately decided to split up and get a divorce 2 years later. To what end then? The terrible revelations have now been revealed by Marla. 3 years after Trump's divorce from Ivana, Marla Maples and Donald Trump were married in December 1993. At a grandiose ceremony held at the Plaza Hotel in New York City, which was owned by Trump at the time, they celebrated with over 1,000 guests, including famous people and powerful business people. But it looked like the marriage was bound to fail right from the start. There is evidence that Marla and Trump were both complicit in the demise of their relationship, despite Marla's admission that it was due to circumstances beyond their control. Following his contentious divorce from Ivana and subsequent large settlement, many were taken aback by the news of Trump and Marla's impending nuptials. Trump allegedly barred Ivana from using her Plaza Hotel office during the divorce proceedings, setting to a court struggle over the validity of their 4 prenuptial agreements, according to the Chicago Tribune. Remember that the drama involving Trump, Ivana, and Marla brought this divorce to the attention of the world. Front-page stories on the proceedings ran for 11 days in a row in New York newspapers, and gossip writer Liz Smith covered the topic for 3 months. The divorce was finally completed in December 1990, but there was a catch. As part of the settlement, Ivana was compelled to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and was instructed to get Trump's approval before speaking publicly about their broken marriage. In addition to the $14 million, Ivana also received a 45-room Connecticut house, an apartment in Trump Plaza, and annual use of Trump's opulent resort, Mar-a-Lago. Trump took precautions to ensure that the same level of drama would not occur when he decided to settle down with Marla. Prior to his marriage to Marla, he had her sign an unusually stringent prenuptial agreement. According to reports that surfaced later, Trump allegedly pledged to give Marla $1 million in the event that they divorced within 5 years, with an additional $1 million to be used toward the purchase of a residence. That may sound like a lot, but it's nothing compared to the almost $25 million in cash and assets that Ivana got. Marla may have been coerced into signing the contract, she said Vanity Fair a few months following their wedding at the Plaza Hotel. She called the prenup the big battle all along, and said she and Trump had only consented to it in the hopes of revisiting the matter later on, but they never did. After this came to light, the media began to speculate that their marriage may have had a faulty foundation. Speaking to People magazine at the time, a famous divorce lawyer said, "There is no greater form of coercion than a pregnant woman being told, 'I will not marry you unless you sign.'" How is she to proceed? She would likely sign a laundry ticket if he gave it to her. Anyone might reasonably wonder if their marriage is real in light of that, wouldn't they? It was obvious that Trump was concerned that Marla was just seeing him for his wealth. The whole fabric of their marriage was shaken by this deal. Yet the prenup disclosed more information than that. It further said that until Tiffany Trump was 21, or until she became a full-time employee, enlisted in the military, or joined the Peace Corps, Trump would be responsible for paying child support to her. Did you know that Trump's choice to marry Marla was heavily influenced by Tiffany's birth? Trump proposed to Tiffany shortly after she was born, and the couple eventually tied the knot. According to Marla, Trump proposed after re-evaluating his life and the things that were genuinely important to him following the December 7, 1993 Long Island Railroad incident. The circumstances surrounding Tiffany's birth were anything but idyllic, despite how that sounds. The first thing Trump said upon hearing the news that Marla was expecting was, "Excuse me, what happened?" Remembering his reaction, Trump said, "I'm glad it happened," during an appearance on Howard Stern's show. "Tiffany is my wonderful young kid. But I remember thinking, excuse me, what happened when it happened? This is something I was unaware of." After that, I asked, "So how are we going to address this?" Before Marla could ask, "Are you serious?" "Oh, great," was his unenthusiastic response to the statement, "It's the most beautiful day of our lives." Obviously, this didn't reassure Marla in the least, and it proved that Trump likely wasn't giving marriage or having children any real consideration at that time. In retrospect, Marla said that the main reason her marriage to Trump failed was because the two of them were just different individuals with different beliefs. Take this into consideration. There was a 17-year age difference between Marla and Trump, and they were from quite different backgrounds. Trump comes from an illustrious and driven family and spent his childhood in Queens, New York. Growing up in an atmosphere that valued business acumen, competitiveness, and winning was important to Trump, since his father, Fred, was a prosperous real estate developer. His will to succeed and his dogged pursuit of riches and power were both influenced by his background. Marla, on the other hand, came from a humble and pious family and spent her childhood in the rural Georgia town of Cohutta. Faith, charity, and community were her upbringing's guiding principles, in sharp contrast to Trump's transactional and materialistic worldview. They came from diverse backgrounds and so prioritized different things. "I come from a very different environment than Donald," Marla claims. "I was looking for a soulmate who would accept me for who I am and have my back emotionally." However, Donald frequently let his empire, reputation, and aspirations consume him. It became quite evident that our lives were completely apart from each other. Relationships, honesty, and personal development were important to me, but Donald was more concerned with money, politics, and power. With his economic enterprise as his first priority, Trump left little space for collaboration or common interests. He had before dealt with the responsibilities of marriage and parenthood with Ivana, and although he did his best to take care of his children, his career always took first. Marla was left to feel lonely and irritated by this disparity. Years of these difficulties led them to the conclusion that it was best for them to part ways. Marla came to the realization after many years of being married that her husband wasn't bringing out the best in her. Marla and Trump's divorce was formalized in 1999 after they split in 1997. The interview goes on to say that Marla had the following to say about the dynamic. "It could get a little combative, as you might imagine, because I came in with strong family values and a sense of spiritual growth. I always wanted to be the best I could be, while he came with his positive ability to see the world, make money, and get out there." She said that Trump's vulnerability was his most appealing quality when asked what he had going for him. Like they had known each other all along, the chemistry was electric. Another reason they broke up was that Marla persisted in believing she could alter him despite the obvious indicators that they had fundamentally different beliefs and personalities. She spoke clean about her desire to soften her boyfriend after the divorce, which is a common desire among 20-something women. Despite her early attempts, she finally learned to stand up for her beliefs with more conviction. However, there were other considerations than the valuation disparity. Some highly contentious event occurred just before they split up, and reports have it that it had a role in their choice. A slew of scandals and speculations only served to fan the flames. Claims that Marla was seen with one of Trump's bodyguards were among the most talked about. While visiting Trump's private Florida resort, Mar-a-Lago, in 1996, rumors surfaced that a security agent had supposedly seen Marla and a bodyguard in a sexually suggestive relationship on the beach. Reportedly, this is what transpired. An on-duty police officer reportedly discovered Marla and another guy beneath a lifeguard post at 4 a.m. when the beach was deserted. Spencer Wagner, a bodyguard, was listed in the police report from April 16, 1996. At first, Wagner claimed to be on the beach by himself to the police officer. However, a lady stepped out of the shadows and introduced herself as Marla Maples, the wife of Trump. The story's public disclosure, as you can expect, brought Marla immense shame. The story was reported extensively by the media. It was front-page news in newspapers and became a TV fad. Obviously, Trump and Marla have both rejected the claims time and time again. Marla insisted it was all in her head and that the police officer had mistaken her for someone else. She was only using the restroom on the beach. It was all a mistake, Wagner insisted at first, and he denied ever having a romantic relationship with Marla. Then, in a move that stunned everyone, Trump dismissed Wagner 4 months later. His dismissal left many questioning his innocence and the reasons behind it. Wagner shocked everyone by changing his tale after he was sacked. "Our passion boiled over and we made love," he told a tabloid, adding that he and Marla were really making out on the beach when they were captured. Mary Miller, Wagner's ex-wife, said in subsequent talks that he insisted he had never cheated on Marla. Miller said that Wagner informed her that Marla's uncontrollable behavior was the reason for their tight relationship. She went on to say that Wagner had brought up the fact that Marla was frequently pushy in her attempts to drag him into a bedroom at the residence. She continued by saying that Marla frequently visited the Florida mansion to indulge in her penchant for wild parties. Wagner was tragically affected by the entire issue. In addition to the hurtful publicity surrounding the alleged affair, he also claimed that he was jobless following Trump's firing. The constant bad press and lack of work chances devastated him, as his ex-wife pointed out as well. Tragically, Wagner overdosed and died on January 1, 2012. The reason being, he's simply not that kind of guy, Miller said. No, he isn't a lousy person. This is why he was never able to fully shake off the incident. There was more drama to come. Trump and Marla's official separation was the next year, and their divorce was finalized 2 years later. Trump allegedly became enraged by the press, which put a strain on their marriage and exacerbated their trust difficulties, even though she denied it. A number of reasons made these problems worse. One thing that has hung over their loyalties is the fact that Trump started seeing Marla when he was still married to Ivana. This has thrown lengthy shadows of treachery. Furthermore, both parties were worn down by the constant rumors about Trump's extramarital relationships, which were further fanned by his infamous Playboy persona and his many social excursions with other women. Marla mostly faded from public view when her marriage ended, so she could concentrate on parenting Tiffany, their daughter. She was active in several fields, including acting, television presenting, and health and spirituality promotion. As a mother, Marla has talked highly of her position, and she has frequently cited her bond with Tiffany as the defining feature of her life. At the same time, Trump persisted in expanding his brand and economic empire. Barron was born to him and Melania Naus, a Slovenian model whom he wed in 2005. Marla and Trump's marriage clearly ended because of public attention, miscommunication, and accusations of adultery. Do you have a theory as to why Marla Maples and Donald Trump's marriage ended? Leave a comment and tell us. If you like this video and would want to see more like it, please subscribe to our channel and click the video that appears next.